While at the Science and Consciousness Conference in Santa Fe, we were able to catch up with one of our favorite interviewees, Dr. John Dermartini. In this interview, John pulls no punches on the subject of true love. In his new book, The Heart of Love, How to Go Beyond Fantasy to Find True Relationship Fulfillment, John sorts through the difference between infatuation and unrealistic expectations and genuine partnership. In the end, he says true love is about balance, the dance between the dark and the light.
Infatuated with somebody and you've got them on a pedestal,
right?
What you'll do is you'll tend to inject their values into your life.
Right.
You'll try to be somebody you're not. You'll tend to sacrifice to be for them. You'll minimize yourself. You'll be the doormat.
Right.
And what you're doing is you're holding on in your memory everything that you've done that sacrifices them, and you're holding on to it because no Intel chip can remember what a woman remembers or a man remembers what they had to do for the other person. And Microsoft's trying to buy that from a woman's brain. I'm joking. But what happens is you remember those things that you sacrifice and you minimize yourself, and then you wonder why, they don't live up to your fantasy because you put a fantasy on them.
Well, you haven't lived up to your own.
You haven't lived up to your own. You're minimizing yourself. So you're not here to minimize yourself and exaggerate others, and you're not here to exaggerate yourself and minimize others. Nobody's worth putting on pedestals or put in pits, but everybody's worth putting in hearts. And the essence is putting in heart, but you can't do that unless you're grateful. And you can't do that as long as you're minimizing yourself and exaggerating them, because then you're too humble to admit you have the trait you see in them, and you're not owning reflectively what you see in them. The seer, the seeing, and the seen must always be the same if you want to open the heart. And at the same time, you're sometimes too proud to admit you have the negative traits you despise in them. And so what you do, then you want to change them relative to you. Whenever you want to change you relative to others or others relative to you, you're not grateful for what is. And when you're not grateful for what is, your heart shuts down. And then you don't have love. And then you're waiting to fix you or them all the time. And that's all that energy dissipative instead of love. And when you go and realize that what you see in them is really you, we're all mirrors, we're reflections. And there's nothing to fix, it's just something to appreciate. Magic occurs, and relationships really unfold, and amazing things emerge when that is going on. Well, I'm going to redefine perfection, because I think we have perfection. Most people go around thinking, I'm not perfect yet, or nobody's perfect. But that's because they have a fantasy about what perfection is supposed to look like. If you take a magnet and try to cut the magnet in half and get only the positive part of the magnet, if you cut it in half, no matter how fast you do it or how frequent you do it, you still get two sides to a magnet. Well, that's the perfection, the balance of opposites. Now, if you're striving for one side and you think the perfection is nice without mean, kind without cruel, positive without negative, happy without sad, give without take, support without challenge, then if you think that that's what perfection is, then you haven't learned what perfection is. And therefore, nobody's perfect. And nobody's going to be perfect, because it's not real. The reality is we have two sides. We have a set of values. Somebody supports us, we're nice. Somebody challenges us, we get mean. Somebody really sells us something that we really want, we're generous, we buy it. Something they try to sell us something we don't want, we're just stingy, we don't want to buy it. So we have two sides. That's the perfection. And so what people think of as perfection is I disagree with. I think what they're searching for in perfection is an illusion. And I think we already have perfection, and the perfection is that we have a balance. And that in actuality, when we are nice to somebody, we may find out that the very person we're nice to, somebody else is giving them a hard time. We may find that when we're mean to somebody, somebody else is giving them an easier time. We're actually participating in a matrix of balance that we've never taken the time to really probe deep and look at. When we do, we realize that there's actually a social matrix of love going on, and love is always a balance and a synthesis and synchronicity of opposites. And so once we realize that love is a balance of opposites, not one side, because see, most people think that love is the happy without the sad, the kind without the cruel, the positive without the negative. That's not what love is. Love is always a synthesis and synchronicity of opposites. That means the pair of opposites at the same time.
For anyone in a relationship or thinking about being in a relationship, this is a must-see video. For the full interview, go to ConsciousMediaNetwork.com.